Hi everyone, Elsie Jensen here. Tonight we are going to make smash burgers and home fries, and then we're going to work on finishing up our sourdough for it to go in the fridge to do its bulk proof. But we're going to start by slicing up our potatoes for our home fries. I'm going to kind of cut them first into like quarters so they're in a nice kind of fry thickness, and then we're going to kind of cut them nice and thin and long. You don't want them to be too thick or they won't cook up well. So nice kind of little like slivered wedges about that thick. And we're going to toss these in our bowl. And I will say, a little bit of potato goes a long way with these. They make a lot more than you think. So we're using, 3 big russet potatoes for the 7 of us. But also, I will say my kids aren't the biggest fry people. I know that's crazy, but they're like the ones who never eat the fries when we go out to eat. But they do like these home fries, but they're not like a give me a gallon bucket of fries. But this is, we're just going to prep our home gallon bucket of fries. But this is, we're just going to prep our home fries, and then we're going to make our smash burgers for dinner tonight. So change it up a little bit. I feel like the weather's sure I don't have any that are too big, because again, you want them to kind of crisp up nicely in our oven during our little cooking time here. And then one more. And we're slicing them up, and then we're going to put them in the bowl because I like to dress them with some oil, Lowry seasoned salt, breadcrumbs, and a little bit of flour to kind of give it that steak fry kind of taste to it. That like nice seasoned fry. There we go. There we go. And we're almost done chopping up our potatoes. Last one, and then we'll give them a nice drizzle of oil and seasoning salt or seasoned salt. Okay, there we go. So you've got all of our potatoes in our little wedgies forms. Okay, there we go. So you've got all of our potatoes in our little wedgies forms, so kind of perfect fry form. We're going to drizzle them with about a tablespoon and a half of oil. So I had just a little bit left in this bottle, so I'm just going to shake it out and use it. But you just need enough to really coat them all, but it doesn't need to be swimming in it. Then we're going to use some seasoned salt, Lowry seasoned salt. This stuff is delicious and perfect for these fries. It just gives you that steak fry flavor. And you're going to, a good heavy dose of it, about, I want to say maybe a teaspoon and a half. And then you're going to use about 2 tablespoons of flour. And again, you're going to mix it together with the oil, and it's going to kind of create a nice batter for our home fries, which will be great side with our steak or smash burgers. And then we're going to use some breadcrumbs, just about like 1/4 of a cup. You don't need too much. Just shake it in here. And then we're going to take our hands and we're going to mix everything up until it is nice and coated on each one of our fries, our little potato wedges here, because this is what's going to give it this nice, delicious flavor. And then I do have my oven preheated to 425 on the air fryer setting. If yours does not have an air fryer, you could do it on convection, or you could do it on just regular bake.
Got a question. What's the seasoning on the fries?
So it is Lowry seasoned salt, a little bit of flour, breadcrumbs, oil, and that is it. And now we're just going to spread them out so none of them are on top of each other. And they'll be ready to pop in the oven in just a second. There we go. The trick is to give them as much space as possible so they kind of crisp up nicely. I'm going to wash my hands real quick, then we'll pop these in the oven. Okay. Let's get these guys in the oven. And you want to make sure you really coat them with everything because that's going to give them all of their lovely flavors. So again, I have my oven preheated to 425. I'm putting them on the top so that they can crisp up nicely. And they need about 15 minutes to cook. So I'm going to check my time and we'll grab them in just a second. Now let's prep our smash burgers. So we've got our ground beef here that we're going to use. The best fatness I would say for a ground, like a smash burger, is 80-20, but all they had at the store today was 1585. With burgers, the key is the higher the fat percentage, the tastier and juicier burger is going to be. So you do want to have a nice kind of a fatness in it. You don't want to use lean ground beef or it won't taste good. Okay, we're going to make some balls here that we'll be able to smash down in our pan in just a second. And we'll season them after we smash them down because we want to, you don't want to overwork your meat when you're working with a smash burger or it'll lead to more of a drier, tougher burger. So we're just going to give it a little roll into the ball so it will smash nicely. And then we're going to be serving them with some brioche buns, which I find are the best buns for hamburgers. They give you that kind of restaurant feel to them. And so this was, I think, 2 pounds of meat. So it's going to make a good, I want to say about 10 maybe smash burgers or so. And like a lot of them, if you like a bigger burger, you can just do a double stack. But you don't want you to make your balls too big because, again, we are flattening them out to be a thinner one so they can cook up quickly. Let's see. There we go. And then I might steal just a pinch off of some of my bigger ones because I do want them to try to be as even as possible. There we go. So we've got our smash burgers ready. Let me now wash my hands so we can start getting ready to cook them. Okay. So each smash burger we're going to have to do 2 rounds because, we're a big family here, takes about 2 to 3 minutes on each side. But you want to start with a hot pan first because if you want that nice crispy sizzle on the meat patty, you've got to have a nice hot skillet. So I'm using, this is kind of a cast iron coated, it's called a scan pan, but it will give you that nice cast iron seasoning to it. And we're going to be using some butter for it because I find when we're going to cook the smash burgers, you don't want to use oil. You want to use butter. So we're going to start with about a tablespoon of butter in here to really get it all the way around. And we're not going to be adding any more, but you want to have a nice kind of coating of butter to really like cook up the burgers. If you think about it, what is it? It's Culver's. They sell their butter burgers where they literally put butter back into the burger. We're not that crazy here, but we do want to have a nice butter on it. And you have to use butter. You can't use oil. It's got to have the nice milk solids in there that give you that nice salty crisp on it. So we're going to let our pan warm up and melt there. While our butter is melting, I am going to spread some softened butter on some of my brioche buns. So these are just good old Nature's Own, but they're brioche, so they're a little bit more yellow than a regular hamburger bun. And if you've never had a brioche roll or hamburger bun, it's a slightly bit sweeter, but not as sweet as like a Hawaiian roll. But they are lovely. And we're just going to put a little bit of butter on these, and we're going to get ready to kind of toast them up on our skillet over here. So just make sure you have some room temperature butter, and this will give you that nice kind of crisp on the bottom of your bun, like when you get at like a restaurant. There. And hopefully by the time we get our first set of these coated. I'm not going to turn on my skillet yet because I want to do my buns toward the ends, but we're going to get some of the prep work done now. And it looks like I can do half of a bun. There. Now it looks like our butter is nice. We're starting to get a little sizzle in here. Turn it up just a bit. And we're going to be seasoning them with a little bit of garlic salt and black pepper. Super simple. You don't need to go bougie and super fancy with a burger. You want to let the hamburger, do its work. Be the main flavor profile. Okay. Once we get these first ones in, here we've got a nice sizzle on our butter, which means we are ready to add our first set of burgers in. So we're going to scoop them up. And you don't want to overcrowd it, so I'm just going to do 4 at a time. We're going to put them in here, and then you're going to take your spatula, and you are going to smash it down. Of course. Let me get my flat one. There we go. And then you just smash it down. Now, you could always pre-smash them if you wanted to between 2 pieces of parchment paper, but you know what? Why make extra work when you don't have to? And the reason why you smash them down, this is going to give you kind of that, roadside diner feel to them. It allows you to cook up your burgers really fast, but still keep them nice and juicy. So we've got them smashed down. And then we're going to sprinkle with a little bit of garlic salt. And a little black pepper. There we go. And then there we go. And then we'll season the other side once we flip it. Perfect. We've got those going. We clean this area up over here, and we can start working on our sourdough that we had prepped earlier. We made our basic loaf, and then we made our basic loaf, and then we made a sweet loaf, a cinnamon honey butter one. And so we need to kind of prep that up. But let me make sure my space is nice and clean, because we are going to do the laminating process of the sourdough, which is where we stretch it out into a nice big rectangle, and we're going to shape it. So I want to make sure I have a nice clean surface. Perfect. I'm going to grab my flour. And then here are my 2 bowls that have been proofing on the counter for the last couple of hours. This is our traditional loaf. And then here, this one that's a little bit browner, this is going to be our sweet one. The browner color to it is because of the cinnamon that we added to the loaf. So first, we're going to shape up our traditional loaf here. I'm going to do a nice spread of flour out here. This is so it doesn't stick. There. And then I'm going to turn this down just a wee.
You have a question. Do you ever cook vegan?
I've done things that are vegan, but no, we are not vegan or vegetarian. So most things that we do are have dairy products in it or meat. Now, there are things that lend itself to being vegan that are naturally vegan in themselves, and we do have stuff like that. But as a rule, we do not. Okay, so we're going to do the laminating process, which is where we stretch it out into a nice big rectangle. And what I like to do is I kind of coat it with the flour on both sides so that it's not sticky to work with. And this doesn't change anything. It doesn't make my dough too floury or not. So we're just stretching it out into a nice big rectangle. Okay, we've got our big rectangle here. But before we move on, let's flip these burgers over. Look at that's nice, beautiful crust. And then we're going to smash them down again. Beautiful. And we'll do a quick little bit of garlic salt and a little bit of pepper. Beautiful. Okay, so let me get my Banneton. This is a Banneton basket. This is where we're going to put it to do the cold proof in the fridge. So I'm going to give it a nice bit of flour on it. You can use rice flour if you want. I find all-purpose flour works just fine. And then what I like to do is I fold it into itself, kind of like you're making a little taco there. And then we're just going to roll this guy up. Nice. And then I'm going to pinch all of this together, and this is to shape it. So you're going to have the nice bottom part of your shaped is going to go into the basket right here. And then we just pinch this side together, and as it proofs in there, this is all going to melt away, but this is what's going to be going face down on your Dutch oven. So this right here is going to be the bottom of your bread, and the one that's sitting down is going to be the top of it where you're going to score it. So we've got our first guy done. And this one, what we'll do is we'll cover it with some plastic wrap, or if you have a towel or cheese up, and I'll pop it in the fridge for tomorrow night's dinner. So I like to do it for 24 hours, but you can do it anywhere between 12 and 48 hours. You can cold proof in the fridge. Just make sure your fridge is not too cold. I've learned my lesson before where my bread got frosty and it did not spring up. So here's our first one. We've got our burgers here, which are nice and done. So I'm going to take them off, and we're going to get our next set. We got this nice, beautiful set of smash burgers. And now we're going to put our next ones in. I'm going to make sure I smash these down a little bit harder. Didn't use quite enough muscle in that one. Okay. And we're going to smash them down really good. They want to spring up a little bit, so you want to make sure you get them nice and thin. There we go. And smash it down. And now I'm doing 4 without cheese because I have a couple who do not like cheese on their burgers, but the rest we're going to put cheese on them. But we'll do it on the second side. Okay, we've got them all smashed down nice. We're going to let them cook for about 3 minutes before we flip. But let's do our next one. So this is going to have an inclusion in it, or kind of like we're going to make a special little buttery thing that we're going to spread on it after we laminate it. But I want to make sure it's nice and ready. So we need a stick of softened butter, about a tablespoon of honey, because this is going to be for our cinnamon honey butter. And I'm just going to eyeball it. There we go. And you can always use more honey if you want to. You can make it about as sweet as you want. And then we're going to use about 1/4 of a cup powdered sugar. There we go. And then a tablespoon of flour. And then we're going to add in some cinnamon. So let's get our tablespoon of flour. And where did I put my cinnamon? I must have forgotten to grab it out. Let me grab it real quick. Here it is. Got to have the cinnamon for the honey butter. And then we need about a teaspoon of cinnamon. So there we go. And now this might be a little bit messy, but let me grab a spoon. We're going to mix it together, and then we're going to spread it on it after we laminate it, but we want to make sure we have it all made up first. And this is going to be our nice kind of like buttery thing that we're going to do on our, lost a little bit. Let's pop it back in here. That we're going to kind of cover after we laminate it. And remember, laminating is when we're making it out into that nice rectangle. And we're going to put this honey butter paste on it. and then it will cook up. It will melt into this delicious extra kind of swirl in our bread. But here you go. We've got a nice kind of cinnamon honey butter paste that we will spread on our cinnamon sourdough. So again, we want to start out with a good serving of flour on our counter so it doesn't stick. And now you could always wait for it to pop out. I'm not a patient person, so I always gently help it out of the bowl. But there are people who just love to like wait for it to do the pop. Not me. Let me flip our burgers over here real quick. There we go. Perfect. And let's do our pepper. And a little bit of garlic salt. Perfect. Now let's let's not forget the cheese. I want to put that on now before we do the laminating process, because then my hands will be very dirty. So we're going to put just a slice of cheese on each one. We're going to let it melt down while it cooks. Perfect. And one more. We're using cheddar cheese, a sharp cheddar, because that's delicious, but any cheese you want to use. Okay, we've got ours. Here, get my hands a little floury. Let's laminate it out.
You have a question? Someone wants to know why their burgers always leave a lot of juice in the pan. Do you know?
That's just the natural fat coming out of it. And especially if you buy it from a grocery store, they've added, probably most of the time they've added red dye and liquid to make your meat look more fresh and plumpy. And but it's normal. It comes out, especially if you're doing a smash burger. When you smash it, you're naturally pushing out the liquid, like the grease in it. But that's why you just smash it once on each side and then you let it kind of cook there. That's why I add butter in my pan, so it's cooking in a nice, delicious butter. Okay, we're stretching it out into our lovely rectangle. This is called the laminating process. There we go. And now I'm going to take this, and we're probably going to get a little bit messy, but hey, sourdough is about getting messy. And you're just going to spread this. You don't want to get it too thick in any area, but all over. So kind of almost like a cinnamon roll, if you think about it. How when you do that cinnamon coating. So we're going to spread it right here. Get that there. Perfect. And we still have more, so we're going to be putting more in. So we're going to do our folds in. And then we're going to spread it on this part right here as well, because you want to have it swirled in there nicely. Because you don't want to have any part that doesn't have this delicious honey butter swirl on it. And then each little roll, we're going to do a nice honey butter on it. Can you just imagine how delicious this is going to be? This honey cinnamon sugar butter. Okay. Now we've got it. Let me get the last bit of this out. Don't want any of it to go to waste. Now you want to do it up until it's no longer going to be, you don't want to put it on the part where it's showing. You want the loaf to be able to be sealed up. So we've got it all sealed up inside there. There we go. And we're going to work to pinch it all together. Now you got to make sure you don't pinch. I don't do a crazy shaping. I just do literally pinching. Some people love to really scrape around and twirl it a lot. I don't feel like it's necessary to do that to get it to hold together. And especially when you have a swirl like this, if you break your sourdough by being a little too rough with it, then your delicious stuff can ooze out, and you don't want that. So here, We've got it in here and we've sealed it all up. Perfect. And you see how we've kind of pinched all of it together. And then we're just going to cover that with plastic or, cheesecloth, and we're going to let it sit in the fridge for about 24 hours before we bake it up tomorrow night. Okay. Let me wash my hands. Let's get these smash burgers out and get the last set in, and I'm going to turn on over here so it can start grilling up. Look at these lovely cheesy ones. Beautiful. And let's get our last 3 on. And I always cook my ones without cheese first because once you do cheese in the pan, it is stuck in there, which is fine because with the people who want it, but the people who don't, they don't seem to want any cheese on it. And it's funny, it's my 3-year-old and my 9-year-old. They are anti-cheeseburger. It has to be a hamburger wherever we go. And it's funny, they won't even eat if you put cheese on it. I know sometimes you go to a restaurant, you order it, and they accidentally put cheese on it. And, once the cheese is melted on, it's hard to take it off. And so what we end up doing is giving them like the bottom of 2 buns so that they have just a hamburger. You never thought you could have such big opinions about cheese on a burger, but apparently they do. Okay, we've got them nice and smashed down. Perfect. Now we're going to coat them with a little black pepper and a little bit of garlic salt. Beautiful. Put this over here. And let's go check on our home fries, see how they are looking, see if they are ready to come out. I always like to check periodically, make sure you don't overcook them.
You got a question about the sourdough bread. Is there a recipe?
Yes, I do have the recipe card for our basic one on our page, on the link on our page. Oh, perfect. These are just perfect. But I also post all the videos. And this video will be posted as well tonight, and maybe, on the link in our page about an hour or so after we're done. But we do have some recipe cards posted, and I know our basic sourdough one is on there. This is our traditional, our basic loaf right here, our first one we rolled out.
Isn't that on the lunch one?
Oh, we did. Yes. We made our lunch videos. We made these where we made the loaves. So that video is available, and I tell you all the ingredients and the amounts as I'm doing it. So you could always watch those up and see. Okay. Let's give our counter a quick clear over here. And we're going to cut up our fruit while the rest of our things. But these are our delicious home fries. They're perfect. You see how they have a nice golden crisp on them, nice and soft. Let's see how our buns are looking over here. We have them toasting up, to get that nice little bakery or restaurant toast. And then we're going to have a little bit of strawberries and kiwis with dinner tonight. Since you need something bright and fresh, I'm going to give my strawberries a quick rinse. And by the time I have these cut up, the rest of dinner will be done, which is always what I try to do. I always try to prepare everything to be done at just around the right size. So we've got our kiwis. I just like to do a single kind of peel with with a little knife. It's funny. I always peeled off the skin. My sister, I think this is crazy. She gives them to their kids. She just cuts them in half and they eat the skin and everything. I don't think I could eat a kiwi skin. It's too much, but I can't even handle a peach's skin. So I'm maybe not the best person to ask, but I feel like a that's a pretty rough skin. See, I think that's crazy. But we're going to have our lovely strawberries and kiwis with dinner tonight, which I think will be a nice little splash of happiness, a nice fresh burst in between our more heavier things. Let's flip our burgers.
Say what's on second.
What?
Just say what's on second.
What's on second?
There you go.
Okay. I don't know what that's a reference to. It sounds like baseball, but I could be, you know.
You gotta ask who's on first.
Oh. Oh, is it that game? That's that riddle.
No, it's an old school.
Oh yes, I know you've mentioned that to me. It was actually in one of our kids' homework once. They brought home like a thing where they were doing that little skit. I'm not completely clueless. Okay. Let's get our cheese on them. Let's see. Ooh, perfect. Got these nice. Get a little more on that one. There we go. Let me get a plate to do my first sets on. I'm going to turn it down. You want just a nice little golden, just a little bit on there. Be nice and perfect. Give you that nice little crusty on it.
Comment that's owned by 75-25 and it makes the best. And
I imagine it does. That's, I think, people always say, oh, burgers aren't like they used to. And that's because we've made them a lot healthier by getting less like full fat. You know, you've got that, what is it? The worst is like the 93, 7%. Ugh, that's just like a shoe. That makes the driest burgers. And you think, oh, this will be so good, but it's like a turkey burger. Turkey burgers, you know, no matter what you do, they just turn out so dry. Let's get these guys off. Nice and juicy. We're going to assemble our burger in just a second. We just want to toast these up, but let me get a plate. We can actually probably make one in just a second. But yeah, you got to use the fuller the fat, the better, because your burger's supposed to be juicy, and it's juicy from the fat in it, not anything you add to it. You know, I used to make turkey burgers, but I had a secret. I would use turkey sausage and ground turkey, and it made for a much nicer burger. Okay.
I have a question real quick. What's on the French fries?
The French fries is we coated them with olive oil, like 2 tablespoons of flour, Lowry seasoning salt, and breadcrumbs. And then we get a quick fry on them. Okay, perfect. Let's make ourselves a delicious smash burger. Got my buns toasted up. And of course, we're going to do a double-decker. So you got your double-decker smash burger. Apparently, I put 2 tops or 2 bottoms. Got to have a pretty top. And we've got our delicious home fries. And of course, we'll serve it up with a nice scoop of fresh fruit, because when you're having fries and a burger, you just need a little burst of freshness on the side. Well, guys, that is today's dinner. We're having our delicious smash burgers using, I believe, 85-15% ground beef, our home fries that we made with some Lowry seasoning salt, breadcrumbs, and a little bit of flour, and of course, our strawberries and kiwis. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us here today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I try to do live cooking shows every single day, show you what I'm feeding my family, and also ask for you guys to ask us any questions about cooking or any recipes you'd like to see us try. Again, thanks for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe.